Hi, I'm Casey from Retroactive Arcade, and I'm going to do a little segment on how to put on decals on some of our bar top kits here, just to go with the theme of putting our bar tops together. Plus they're pretty small, so I can do the video in a pretty quick span of time here. Just to go over some of the decals that we use decal on 3M, and then it's also got a 3M cold pressed laminate on it. It has some minor healing properties that if you get anything sharp, nicks, scratches, that type of thing, it'll still kind of seal it off a little bit. You know, it's not the end all be all, but it is something that helps a little bit. Also makes the decal really durable. I mean, you could really literally clean this off with diesel and it won't do anything to the decal itself. It is a lot thicker material to try to deal with, so if you're not used to it and you're using something thin, this might be a little bit of a pain in the butt. It does have a PIA factor, but I find that when you put it on, the durability of it and everything else, it just looks like glass in the end. Yeah, so I'm going to start off with the console on this one. I'll show you how I kind of line it up and what I do and some of the tools I use, and then we'll just move forward to some other parts on the machine itself. This step needs to be done before you do T-mold. I mean, you can do it, I guess, afterwards, but why make it harder for yourself? So yeah, the T-mold will also cover up your edges and stuff, and you can use the edges of your material to do all your cuts and stuff. So yeah, okay, so I did like some seriously minor prep on my decal before we did this video, so I just kind of cut this a little bit down so I had something easier to work with for the video itself. But as you can see, it's pretty much just straightforward stuff. You're going to want to have some sort of shop towels, paper towel, that kind of thing. You're going to need some painter's tape or just masking tape, scissors, really sharp blade on your X-Acto knife. That's going to definitely save you a lot. And I use just water, just because we're using wood and stuff like that. Normally if you're going on a car or whatever, you're going to want to have like a soapy water that you can put on there so it'll slide around. I don't use any sort of moisture to set my decal in any way. Everything is just hard pressed on. The reason being is you don't want any water on any type of wood. Obviously it's going to swell or give you issues, and if you use water on this, even though it's a melamine finish, just around the edges of your holes and on your edge there, it will bubble up like MDF or anything like that, and then it's just going to look horrible. So first of all, I just kind of take some, I always spray my shop towel with a little bit of water onto the thing instead of the actual project, because obviously, like I said, you don't want to have water all over the place. So I'm just going to freehand this for the video. I kind of did it before and kind of made up my mind on what I wanted to do. So I'm just going to kind of position this where I want it, because in all essence it does not matter for this specific one. So what you want to do is you're going to want to do this probably from the top on your decal if you have a very specific location that you want everything to go into. For some people get their decals printed so that you go around the actual button on the outside and stuff. I'm not overly concerned with that right at the moment, just for the video purpose, but you can take your time and line it up exactly how you want, and then you're going to want to cut your edge kind of like what I'm doing right now. I'm just cutting out a gap here for so I can put tape on it so that I can kind of center it exactly where I want it. Okay, so now I'll show you what that means. So if you look here, I just cut out to the width of the actual console itself so that now I can tape it down and go from there. So I'm going to kind of eyeball my center. Do as they say, not as I do, especially if you're worried about being very precise on your layout over top of your control panel or anywhere else. Like I said, this is more just to see how it goes on more than the actual layout. There's stuff all over YouTube for how to put on decals and stuff, do's and don'ts and that kind of thing. I'm just doing a basic one so you guys can see how it works. The biggie is just whatever you do, don't use a ton of water or a lot of moisture. I sprayed this thing at the beginning of this video and it still has a little bit of moisture on it. That's more than enough. All you're doing is just getting enough so that you can kind of get the dust off of your product, off your project or workpiece. You can use a tack cloth, that helps too. I find that in my shop the tack cloth does the opposite of what it's supposed to do. It attracts a lot more dust than it's supposed to get rid of, so these shop towels don't give me any sort of issue for the most part. All right, so now you can see we got that kind of folded half and half. That's going to allow me to keep my decal straight. Peel off the one side. Get rid of your backing. So all your dust and stuff is gone, taken care of. You can screw your project or your workpiece down so that it won't move around. This one's pretty small, so it does tend to want to go all over the place, which does suck every once in a while, but I've been doing it for a little while and I kind of get used to it. So as I said, I'm just using pressure only for this. I'm doing literally probably about 1 millimeter to a ½ centimeter at a time on this thing. You want to get rid of all your air bubbles and everything else. With this being on melamine, if it's on paint or say like a lacquer finish, or you've primed it and you're putting this on, it's not going to be as forgiving as a melamine with our kits. The melamine kits, you can actually, since I've put it on there, I can actually peel it back off and get a second chance at it if I've got some air bubbles and that type of thing in here. With paint, it'll probably, these things are pretty sticky, they'll probably just peel up your paint and then you're going to get bumps in it when you put it all back. As you can see, it's moving around on me, not a huge deal. Millimeter at a time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish putting this on, and then when I got all this good to go and I'm ready to do some cutouts, we'll bring you back here and I'll show you how I do all that stuff. All right, so as you can see, I put it all on, everything was good. So just in case it wasn't abundantly apparent, after this side was put on, I just took the tape off, lifted it up, took the backing off that side, and then just did the other side. It's not going to move around, it's going to stay straight because of the way I taped it there. So now I've removed all that stuff. There's a couple things at this point, well, at any point really, before you put on T-mold and put the whole thing together. You might have a couple air bubbles here and there. This one's pretty good. I don't really have any dust or any air bubbles or anything else underneath it or anything. But if you do get an air bubble in there, depending on the decal that you've got, if you don't use this cold press laminate, there is a chance that it might have an air release or a slow release. So any air pockets or whatever that get caught underneath will just kind of disappear after time. The problem with cold press laminate is that it locks that inside because it's not semi-permeable or anything. So you do have to take a really sharp X-Acto blade and just poke that hole just a little bit. Try not to go into your material underneath it because then it'll leave a divot or whatever. And you know, if you're looking for perfection, then that's kind of what you want to do. If not, then yeah, just stab away, go ahead, whatever you want to do. So when I cut these off, what I usually do is I would flip this over so you can see the bottom of your console. I'll go across the edge on the bottom here and just cut it off. Use that as a guide instead of a ruler or anything like that. Obviously you don't need it, it's stuck to it, so you're good to go. And then just get rid of your excess that way. You got a nice perfect cut. We'll do this real quick and then show you how I do the holes. This is pretty much the same way, but you got to do them from the top. If you're doing this at home on a workbench or something like that, obviously you're going to want to put some paper, newspaper or something like that underneath it so you don't scratch your decal. You can cut this from the top. It is a bit of a pain in the butt, and sometimes when you cut from the top, I find that you might gouge into your workpiece or project, and then obviously you can't fix that once that's done. But with this being said, from the top, the buttons don't really matter because there's a flange on the button that'll cover it. So if you cut it from the top and you kind of mess it up a little bit, you probably have about, I'd say, a 1/16 to an 1/8 of an inch of the flange of the button. to cover that issue that you're going to have. And with the joystick, you've got a 1.5 inch radius of a dust plate for your joystick that'll cover that, so you won't have any issues there. Yeah, so I've got a little bit of buttons to cut out here. I'm going to move on, and I'm going to decal the sides of the profiles on our bar top here. I'm not going to go through that process because it's exactly the same as this one, but I will come back and show you how I'm going to cut it out again, just to kind of, that's some people just don't really have the confidence to cut away on that. So you can watch me do it a few times and maybe you'll be good to go. And then we'll come back and show you how the whole thing looks all together, all decaled up. All right, so I put the decal on the profile of the bar top. We couldn't get a good angle of it on the camera there, so I didn't want to do it on the floor, but I will do the cuts here on the floor. As you can see, I kind of cut this off. I did a rough cut here when I measured everything out to fit it where I wanted on the one side so that I could use that to line up. And yeah, I was just on by, I had probably about 1 millimeter of color left on the decal I printed, so happy day. See if we get the same on the other side. But just to go over what I showed you before, just so you can see it again, is around corners and the outside and stuff, is you want to take a really sharp blade and just kind of cut off all your excess. If you don't feel really comfortable doing it right to the edge and stuff right out of the gate, I usually cut probably about, I don't know, an 1/8, 1/16, ½ inch, that kind of thing. Just depends. You can go wavy, get whatever you want with it, just rough it out, just so it's easier to work with. All that excess stuff hanging off sometimes is a real pain in the butt. Just don't press and go really fast when you're doing this, especially if you can't see or feel the bottom underneath because you don't know where you're at. But yeah, just make sure your blade is really sharp. Don't use a dull blade. And just go in. Cut your edges just nice and perfect. Take your time. Let the blade do all the work. Don't push any extra on it. Like I said, if you go into the project at all, sometimes it's just a little nick and nobody's ever going to see it. But sometimes it'll be just a little more than that and you can't really fix it. If you do, you can probably use a little bit of scraps of your decal depending on your design and kind of cover up little bits here and there, but nobody wants to do that if you don't have to. Just take your time and trim it really nice. See, I don't know if the camera can pick up some of these small little shavings that are coming off for me here, but if you leave a little excess on there, I'd like to say that it doesn't matter, but it really does. Once you put your T-mold on, the T-mold's going to try to flatten any excess that's sticking out past it. So you're going to kind of want to have maybe, I say about a 22-degree angle to try to get all of it off for sure. If you don't, and that T-mold pushes in on it, it's actually going to just bubble around the edges all the way. And it's just going to look horrible. So if you do it wrong the first time, you'll learn, and then you'll not want to do it a second. But all this stuff is live and learn, right? Perfect. There we have it. I'll trim up a little bit more here probably before I put on my T-mold. Or sometimes as you're putting your T-mold on, because you really, with T-mold, you only get one real shot. If you put it in and try to pull it out, it's barbed, so it tries to rip out all the wood and whatever. I'll talk about that on my next segment for putting in T-mold. But if you see that it is buckling your decal or whatever, you can just peel it back that 1/4 inch or whatever, shave that little bit off, and then you're good to go. So yeah, we'll come back and I'll show you this whole thing decaled up before we put T-mold on it, and we'll do another section of T-mold. Okay, so now it's Marquee time. So with our kits, we also offer a plexi option for an addition for you to buy. That'll also give you, it'll give you a plastic marquee as well as a plastic piece for the bezel that'll go over top of your monitor. It's optional, obviously. But if you want a marquee, you can either just put wood over top of, on the bar top and put a piece up there and then put your decal on top of that. But plastic's nice, especially if you wanted to make it backlit and put a light back there. We print our decals to pretty much almost the exact size of the plexi. I use a 3/4 inch mold or a 1/2 inch mold as well, angle aluminum that's made out of black, or it's black powder coated anyway, and then I sandwich that on through the thing there. I'm going to do a video on that as well on how that works. It's just something you can pick up at Rona, Home Depot, that kind of thing, so it's pretty standard stuff. I've pre-cut this one real quick. You could use the same technique that I used on the console for this if you have a specific type decal. What you want to do is lay it out on here, make your little markings everywhere you want it, put your tape across, go back, peel it back, and do all that stuff. I've already measured, and I just like to do it this way. It's not necessarily the right way, but it's the way I like. So, 2 different kind of techniques, I guess, all in one, wrapped up in a little present for everybody. So, crazy aside, I've cut my little kind of template out on there, so I know where I'm going to line myself up to. So I'll just take the decal. I'm just going to get started with this, and then we'll cut out again so you don't have to watch me do the whole thing. It's pretty boring stuff, but helpful nonetheless. Just line up my edge. Just millimeter by millimeter, dry press bit. With this one here, since it's not wood, obviously, you can put, makes you a little more comfortable, you can put a couple of drops of dish soap in your in your bottle of water there and spray it on, and you can actually just put the whole decal on and use a squeegee and do the whole thing. You might be asking why I did this whole video without a squeegee. I just find that the squeegee scratches the decal, and I really don't like it myself. Especially with this cold press laminate. It's not really weak, it's really, really durable, but it doesn't like that squeegee effect, so I never use it. So, millimeter by millimeter. Press the decal onto the table so it doesn't move around. Blast it off. You don't want to go too fast, because no matter what you do, if you go really fast, it'll create bubbles. Just that friction will draw air underneath there for whatever reason. Said I wasn't going to do the whole thing, but bam, I did it anyway. Voila. Marquee approved. Voila, Marquee, happy days. All right, so we're gonna dry fit all this together and we'll show you how she looks. All right, so we've got this kind of dry fit and mocked up. You can kind of see how it all kind of goes together and looks all pretty. And then you're wondering, why'd they do black and white on the side and color on all the other ones? We're just wacky and crazy like that. Well, I am anyway. I do what I want. It's all good. So yeah, if you want to learn how to put in T-mold and stuff, you can tune into our other video, basically how to install T-mold. We're going to do that up here next. So have a good day, and hope this was at least entertaining for you. Thanks. Bye.